This is a story not about gold, but about silence. A voyage with no song, no flag, and no one left to testify. If you're drawn to real sea tales, stories hidden between logbooks and wreckage, then keep listening. And if this story pulls you under, leave a comment. Let the next crew know what waits. When the Bitter Fortune left Port-au-Prince in May of 1803, she carried no cannon, no colors, no official cargo manifest. Only 4 crates, sealed in Havana wax, each stamped with a burned mark no one aboard could read, a jagged arc, 3 vertical cuts, and a circle. Captain Jules Caro didn't explain. He never did. But he paid each man in silver before they sailed, not after. That alone should have made them walk. On the second day at sea, the ship's cook fell overboard. Or so they said. No one saw it happen. Only heard his ladle hit the deck. Then silence. By nightfall, his hammock was empty, and his name was gone from the watchboard. Literally. The chalk had been wiped, while no one was near it. On the 4th day, the carpenter refused to go below deck. Said the crates hummed. Said they were waiting. The boatswain laughed and locked him in the hold for it. By dawn, the carpenter was gone. Crates untouched. Lock still latched. And when they checked the watchboard, his name had been scratched out with a blade. Men began to sleep in pairs, then in groups, then not at all. One of the mates set the crates on fire. They didn't burn. The tar around the wax melted inward, like it was sealing tighter, not looser. By the 10th day, no one would go near the hold. No one except Caro. He'd go below at midnight. Stay for exactly 23 minutes. Then return to the helm and stand without blinking until dawn. And every night the same sailor asked, "What's in the boxes?" And every morning that sailor was missing. By the end, there were only 4 men left. None of them spoke. They didn't even steer. Because the sea, it moved the Bitter Fortune on its own, always straight, no drift, like something below was pulling it toward a line only it could see. On the 16th day, land appeared. A narrow spit of rocks, jagged, barren, nameless. Caro stepped off the ship, alone, with 1 crate on his shoulder. He walked the full length of the rocks, stopped at the tip, and sat. He never moved again. 2 weeks later, a whaler spotted the Bitter Fortune drifting, no crew, no logs, only the watchboard, still hanging by the helm. The names of 14 men were listed. All struck through, except one. See Caro, always on watch. Some ships disappear. Some leave behind a wreck, but some just erase you. The Bitter Fortune was towed into Port Royal on the morning of July 3rd, 1803. Its sails were still full, though there was no wind. Its anchor still tied, though the ship had stopped. 3 Navy men boarded her. They found no crew, no food left, no damage, only a ship that looked paused. The logbook was missing, but under the helm, tucked into a drawer lined with oilskin, was a ledger, written by hand, ink dry, pages brittle, except the last one. That page was soft, and still smelled like salt. Inside were names, every sailor on the ship, rank, date of boarding. Then, nothing. No duties, no wages, no end dates, until the very last line, written in darker ink. All paid in advance, all accounted for. C. The crates were gone. The hold was sealed with fresh nails. The boards didn't match the rest of the ship. Too new, too smooth. But no signs of opening. And yet the crates, all 4, gone, replaced by silence, and something else. Marks on the walls, thin, vertical scratches, evenly spaced, like someone had been counting or waiting. Lieutenant Marcus Bell, the officer in charge of the boarding, kept the ledger. He shouldn't have, but he was curious. For weeks he studied it, even took it home. He began waking at 3:17 a.m. every night. Same time. He'd find the book open. Different page. Same sentence. Still on watch. He never told anyone. Until one night he rowed out alone without orders and set the book adrift. Years passed. The Bitter Fortune was sold, renamed Maria's Mercy, and put into trade service. It completed one voyage. Only one. The new crew of 18 returned, shaken. All of them reported the same thing. They never saw the captain. He gave orders through notes, slipped under doors, posted in the galley. But no man ever saw him on deck. And every time they passed by the helm, they heard breathing. Not wind, not creak. Breathing. When they docked in Bermuda, they refused to reboard. The owners laughed until they went aboard themselves. There, carved into the helm rail, were the same 4 words. Always on watch. Sea. The ship was burned at sea. No one claimed insurance, and the name Caro was never found in any Navy or pirate registry. No birth record. No prior command. But old port ledgers in Havana listed something strange. Between 1800 and 1803, 4 sealed crates were signed out to Captain C. Destination: undisclosed cargo. Type: cultural artifact, high sensitivity. Recipient: private consignee, East Chartline Holdings. That company never existed. But the same name appeared on a receipt found decades later, aboard another abandoned brig, adrift near Dakar, 1831. Inside, only one thing: a chalkboard, 4 names, 3 crossed out. One still clear: C. Caro. And beneath it, a new name being written, even though no hand was holding chalk. The watch still wasn't over. His name was Thomas Gray, and he never wanted to speak again. Found in 1834, drifting on a fishing skiff near St. Kitts, he was wearing an officer's coat 2 sizes too large. His left hand was broken in 3 places. His eyes were open, but unmoving. For days, he spoke nothing. Then one night, he began to murmur coordinates in his sleep, again and again, and every time, they moved slightly, like a current was dragging them across his mind. A Navy medic recognized the coat. It bore the stitching of Maria's Mercy, the renamed Bitter Fortune, but that ship had been destroyed, burned and sunk. So where did Thomas get the coat? And why was he missing 4 teeth? When he finally spoke, it wasn't a story. It was a warning. We never left. We just drifted too close. They don't sail. They wait. He's not steering. He's watching. Then he coughed blood, asked for ink, and with shaking hands, drew what looked like a straight-line wing, but only when you saw it from a distance. Up close, it was names, one written on top of the next, piled so tight the ink bled black, and at the very end, still fresh. Thomas Gray. They buried him in a Navy plot. But 2 days later, the gravedigger swore he heard knocking. From under the soil, they ignored him, until they found the fresh ledger, sitting atop Gray's stone, dry new. Inside, only 1 page, a single phrase: watch transferred. In 1841, a newly christened merchant ship called Sable Finch went missing off the coast of Cuba. It had taken on last-minute cargo from a private agent in Port-au-Prince. 3 crates, no manifest, paid in advance. The crew joked about cursed cargo. Until the 2nd week, when the helmsman vanished mid-course, and his name was gone from the board. By the time the ship washed ashore a month later, upside down, not 1 crewman remained. But someone had carved words into the keel. Tell Gray he was right. The Admiralty sealed all connected records: Havana, Bermuda, Port Royal. Anyone who touched the name Caro was reassigned or discharged. No further investigation. But in 1878, a student from Edinburgh traced shipping records, forgotten port transfers, and unsold crates from private companies listed under strange, one-time-only aliases. He published a pamphlet, The Watch That Never Ended, sold less than 100 copies, then disappeared from university entirely. His name, Thomas G. Rowe. The pamphlet's final sentence, "We never knew what was in the crates, but maybe they weren't cargo. Maybe they were the crew." And to this day, sailors say, if you hear footsteps when no one is on watch, don't turn around, because the man behind you isn't walking. He's waiting. The ledger always finds its next name. Portsmouth Naval Depot, 1849. A sealed warehouse unit was marked for disposal. It held goods recovered from wrecks, half-sunk barrels, splintered masts, torn flags, and one unregistered crate, labeled only with a number, X77. The papers had rotted. No sender, no ship, no route, and no record of how it got there. Just one line scribbled in pencil across the lid. Return, not needed. Do not manifest. Lieutenant Henry Wren, recently assigned to archive storage, had a habit of cataloging everything, even what didn't exist on paper. He opened the crate alone. No one knows what he expected. But the moment the lid came loose, he froze. Inside was nothing. No straw, no lining, no object. But at the bottom, an indentation. Long, narrow. The shape of a human spine. Wren didn't report it. But that night he requested transfer to sea duty, immediately. His captain protested. Wren was assigned to land. Still, he boarded the Mercia, a supply ship, 2 days later, as a stowaway. He didn't hide. He stood at the helm. Every night. Said nothing. Just watched. On the 4th night, the official helmsman vanished. His boots remained. On the 8th night, the cook found Wren standing outside the hold, whispering, "I thought the crate was empty. I thought it needed to be filled." When the Mercia reached port in Lisbon, only 4 crewmen remained and refused to explain what happened. But someone, no one knows who, nailed a small wooden plaque to the helm. The carving was exact. C. Caro, always on watch, and beneath it, H. Wren, assigned. Back in Portsmouth, a clerk finally entered X77 into the archive. She found a loose paper stuck under the crate's base, a folded square of soft, damp vellum. Inside, a single fingerprint in dried ink. She turned it in, but no one ever saw her again. To this day, the crate is gone. No one knows where. No disposal record. No shipping order. But in 1871, a warehouse fire broke out in the same depot. The blaze stopped at one wall, blackened it, but didn't pass. Firemen found nothing unusual, except the name Wren scratched into the stone. And in the corner, barely visible, was the same strange symbol found on every crate since 1803, a jagged arc. 3 vertical cuts, a perfect circle. Some items are shipped, others just travel. And someone always has to keep watch. Edinburgh, 1982. A postgraduate researcher named Edward Malley was cataloging unclassified naval records from the early 1800s. Most were routine, ship repairs, pay ledgers, decommissioned captains. But one box, misfiled and water-damaged, caught his attention. Marked simply, Caro. Inside, 2 burned pages from Maria's Mercy logbook, a shipping manifest with every crew name crossed out, a folded map with no coastlines, only a straight line, stretching forever, and a sealed envelope. No addressee, no wax, just one word written in faded ink, Watch. Edward opened it. Inside was a single sheet. No words, just faint impressions. He rubbed it gently with charcoal to reveal what was underneath. And a name appeared. Not Caro, not Wren, but his own. E. Malley. Already faded. He dismissed it. A joke, some old prank. Until the dream started. Salt water under his bed. Knocking, always 3 knocks. On his study door at 3:17 a.m. And a voice behind him, reading off names he didn't know. He tried to burn the file. It wouldn't light. Even gasoline slid off the paper like water. He mailed it to the Royal Navy Archives. It came back 3 days later. No stamp, no note, just a new envelope, sealed in wax. With a symbol on the front, a jagged arc, 3 vertical lines, and a circle. Desperate, Edward traced every incident tied to the bitter fortune, Maria's mercy, and the unknown crates. Every sailor, every mention of Sea Caro. And then he found it, a discontinued insurance firm in Barbados. Folded in 1841. Its final record? Claim denied for lost cargo. Client name, East Chartline Holdings. Item, human manifest, status, in transit. He contacted a maritime historian. She agreed to meet. He brought all the documents. She never showed. He returned home. The box was gone. In its place, a blank ledger. On the first page, Captain E. Malley. Status, assigned. In 1997, his nephew, sorting Edward's estate after his sudden disappearance, found something odd. A sealed crate in the attic. No markings, no hinges, just a rope wrapped around it. 13 times. He never opened it. He simply donated it to the Scottish Maritime Museum. They catalogued it as unopened, donor unknown, but 1 week later, the night watchman quit. Left only a note. It's not locked to keep us out. It's locked to keep him in. Some ships disappear. Others never dock. But the watch. It always continues. Lisbon, 1797. A merchant ship named Caldera was preparing for departure. Captain was young, unlisted, quiet. He used only one name. C. The cargo, 4 wooden crates. Weight, unknown. Contents, not inspected. A junior dock worker, just 14 years old, was asked to help load them. He later told his sister, "The wood was warm, like skin, and the air changed when we closed the hold." That dock worker disappeared 3 days later. The ship sailed without incident. No name in logs, no insurance. It was never meant to return. But it did. 6 months later. No sails, no crew, no nameplate. Just 4 crates, still in the hold, and one phrase carved into the mast. Return unnecessary. Watch assigned. The port authorities sealed it, sent it to private storage, never spoke of it again. But one man didn't forget. A clerk named Jules Caro. He had seen the crates, touched one. He later purchased a small sloop with his inheritance, renamed it the Bitter Fortune, and requested one delivery only, those same 4 crates. He vanished shortly after. Every ship that carried the crates after that, every captain, every sailor, every official, either disappeared, went mad, or died writing a name not their own. No one opened the boxes. No one saw what was inside, but every vessel began reporting the same thing. No change of watch, no return of crew, and breathing where no man stood. In 2023, the Scottish Maritime Museum renovated its archive wing. In one sealed room, they found a display crate marked unopened, donor unknown. It had no listed origin, no accession record, and no hinges. The curator ordered it removed. But when the movers arrived, they found the entire room empty, except for one object, a small chalkboard. And written across it, C. Caro, always on watch H. Wren, assigned T. Gray, E. Malley, and you. The lights in the room went out. The footage was corrupted. And the next morning, the curator resigned, without notice. Her note read, "There was never anything inside the crates. That's the point. The crates aren't cargo. They're contracts. So if you're ever near the helm, and the night is calm, but you feel someone standing just behind you, don't look. You're not the next to die. You're the next to watch."